Okay, hi, welcome to the Unit 3, the Memorandum Business Communication Presentation Lecture. For this particular business communication document, we will be visiting lessons 24 and 25 in our textbook to practice drafting and constructing these different communications. And once again, they are called memorandums. So let's go ahead and get started and see exactly what memorandums are and how they work. So starting off in lesson 24, you're going to learn how to draft an interoffice memorandum. So if you take a look at the picture below, you can see some of the formatting guidelines that you will be following when it comes to drafting a memorandum. The purpose of this is to be able to learn how to format and generate interoffice memorandums, as well as process memos from arranged and semi-arranged copy. All right, so let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So when it comes to the different formatting areas or formatting sections of the interoffice memorandum, let's first take a look at the heading. So as you can see by the image to the right, we are going to move down 2 inches and we are going to begin building our heading. So when it comes to the heading, we actually have 4 lines, 2 from, date, and subject, all of which are in all caps, as you can see by the image to the right. And you will do this for the start of every interoffice memorandum that you create. So also note that it is also acceptable to use all caps for the subject line. So normally in this case, if you want to stay consistent with everything, just put the to, the from, the date, and the subject all in all caps. And then you will notice that there is a certain amount of spacing in between. There is a blank line in between each line of the memorandum heading. Then you can move on to the memorandum body. So this is the communication that is being sent using the memorandum as the platform. So as you can see, all paragraphs in the memo will begin at the left margin with no indent. They are single spaced, and there is a double space or a blank line in between each different paragraph or area of content. That's the body. Okay, then at the bottom there is what's called the reference initials. So the reference initials are the initials of the individual who is typing the memo. It might not always be the individual who is sending the memo. It might just be the individual typing. So if there is an business office professional who wants to have a memorandum drafted and is using his or her administrative assistant to draft it, the administrative assistant would put his or her reference initials at the bottom, even though it is not from that individual. So notice that you take a look here at the bottom, this little graphic here, this image of the proper spacing as well as the proper reference initials. Now, it has on here XX. Now, XX just indicates that this is where the reference initials would be entered. It is not going to be XX. There isn't anybody in this class who has the reference initials XX. This is where you would put your reference initials. First initial of your first name, first initial of your last name. Now underneath that, there is also an area for an attachment or an enclosure. So if you are seeing an attachment notification underneath the reference initials, that means that there will be an additional document that is going to be attached or stapled or paper clipped to this particular memorandum. And that other document that is stapled or attached by paperclip is going to be what is referenced in the memorandum for the reader to be able to reference. Now that is different from, say, an enclosure. So an enclosure would indicate that a document accompanies the memo but is not attached to it, which means there's probably something else enclosed in the envelope once the memorandum is received by the receiving party. All right, so this concludes the presentation lecture on the interoffice memorandum. Make sure you go back and fill out and complete the note guide so that you have a reference guide for formatting interoffice memorandums. And we will be taking the next number of class periods to practice drafting interoffice memorandums for business communications.